Next Radio with Broadcast Bionics. Innovative solutions for creative people.
So, welcome along. Let's get this going. The weekend of the 23rd and the 24th of June 2012, for me, was quite a memorable one. So on the Saturday, I asked my long-suffering girlfriend to marry me, and for the sake of this story, the good news is she said yes. Then I was amazed as well, actually. On the Sunday, I got the call telling me that GMG Radio, where I was working at the time, had been sold to Global Radio, and that it was going to be announced the following morning, and we were going to go into hold separate. Now, hold separate, if you've not ever dealt with it, is where there's certain regulatory stuff and paperwork and things like that to get through before the company that's bought, in this case Global, can actually take control and run the company and so on. And it can take 3 months or 6 months, or in our case, it took 645 days, which was getting on towards 2 years before it all saw through. And that was quite a process. It caused headline after headline. There was lots of rumors going around about who might go where and what brands might change and who might own things if not every station can be owned by the same people. All really complicated stuff, and it all went on and on. But at the same time, we still had radio stations to run. We still had listeners out there, 5 million of them, listening to what we were doing, and we had to keep the teams going and keep doing stuff. And I learned quite a few things during this. I'd like to share with you 5 of them that I learned. But before I do, I just want to thank a couple of people who were there. Mark Lee, Andy Carter, and John Simons were running the company most of the time. We had brilliant PDs and producers as well, and brilliant teams in our buildings. If ever you were part of the GMG culture, you'll know what a special time and place it was. But yeah, learned a few things along the way, and would like to share those with you now. Firstly, knowing that it's all going to end really focuses your mind. If there's stuff you want to do, you may as well do it, because that window of opportunity is disappearing. That big promotion you've always wanted to do, the benchmark features, the network program that's really special, the S&P activity that's really one-off. Now's the time to do it, because otherwise, who knows what's going to be happening in the future. So we did. And we did all sorts of fun stuff. One of the things we did was 50 Grand Friday, which involved giving away 50 grand on a Friday. We enjoyed it so much, we did it 3 times in the end, and ended up getting a Sony for it 5 days after Real Radio no longer existed. So unfortunate timing at the end, but great to do stuff like that, and things like that actually really helped us as a team to have excitement going on through the uncertainty. The HR side of the business did things as well with career planning, CV work, deeper stuff about what we individually wanted to achieve, which I will come back to in a moment or two. Secondly, short and medium-term events are good. We generally live around calendars, whether it's looking forward to the weekend or looking forward to the pub tonight or Christmas or holidays or whatever. So actually having a period where you don't know when it's going to end, but it is going to end, can be a bit of a weird one to get your head around. So we created lots of things for people to be able to focus on, whether it was online promotions like 50 Grand Friday, whether it was charity days and raising money, whether it was particular promotions. We had these red letter days going on. And the company did them as well. Now, being a typical producer who likes to sit in the dark room in the background playing with jingles all day, doing this kind of group company stuff where everyone gets together wasn't really in my nature. But GMG did some of them, and they really pull people together from around the different stations. And actually, by the end of it, I wished I'd got more involved with them, including this one here, which was the 3 Peaks Challenge, where staff from all around our group scaled 3 mountains in one day, and then, not to be done by that, then came back a year later and did the 5 Peaks Challenge, which is even more crazy. And actually, it did great things for the group. It was really good stuff. And it meant there was always things going on, things to look forward to, things to read about, get involved with, and talk to people about, rather than just, when's it all going to end? The third thing, some people will leave, and that's okay. As we know, some people like living on the edge of employment and not knowing where the next paycheck is coming from or who they'll be working for. I think we generally call them freelancers, or these days, off-peak presenters. But that isn't for everyone. And if it's not for you or it's not for your colleagues, that's okay. If people would rather have security and go elsewhere to work, that's absolutely fine. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means that being in a situation like we're in wasn't for them. And actually, if people want to go, let them go. But if you can help them along the way, we'd help people make demo tapes or take time off for interviews, sometimes with rival groups. But actually, it's the people that matter here. And if you can help people out in this situation, it's well worth doing. That leads me on to the fourth thing, which is keep things human, even if the process is anything but. There are a few things less human than hold separate because you are legally not allowed to talk to the other company. And that gets really complicated, especially if you're dating someone from the other company, like some of my friends were. So keep things human along the way. I would drive around the country in my job as Deputy Group PD just to take people to the pub and just to chat. And actually one of the greatest things you can do in this situation is listen to people. You don't have to have the answers, because sometimes we don't know what the answers are. But if people can offload, if people can just chat, even if they can, start speculating about what might happen, if you can listen to people and give them some time, it's one of the best things you can do, one of the most worthwhile things you can do. We had quite a lot of career-based sessions across the group about things you could do personally for your career, what might be right and so on, which involved listening and so on. I went to one of these in Scotland, and it was this kind of tree-shaped thing, and you filled out things about your life and your hopes and stuff, and things that I wasn't really entirely buying into when I drove up there. And I filled it out, and I looked at it afterwards, and I was like, shit, everything on here says, leave the company. Bit scary. I drove back to Manchester thinking about this, and I realized, actually, yeah, I wanted to leave. Not straight away, but at the end of it all, I wanted to go and do my own stuff, which I've been kind of freelancing for a while. And this leads on to point number 5. The happier you are, the better you'll be as a colleague, as a manager, as a person. I was able to, thanks to some very good managers above me, I was able to sort out a situation where I would stay to the end. I didn't even know when the end was, and then would leave after that, which as soon as that was agreed, as soon as that was sorted out, I relaxed so much more, and I was I think I was a better person. My wife says I was a nice person to live with, so I'm sure she's right. And I really did appreciate being able to sort that out, but actually, until I'd sat down and gone through that process, I hadn't really realized that. And the stuff that I learned while I was there has also been useful for what I'm doing now. I run Chris Country Radio, which I know you all listen to every day. And what I learned from running Smooth 70s in GMG has been really useful for that. And my other business, Ignite Jingles, a lot of the work I did with S&P and with clients and stuff was really useful there as well. So actually, what could have been a really awful time, and at times felt like it was, turned in the long run to be a really good experience with good people, doing lots of quite cool stuff. And I think there's a couple of interesting thoughts here, even if you're not in a takeover or in a hold separate or whatever else, because these points still apply. How happy are you in your job? Are you doing what you want to be doing? Are you progressing it the way you want to? What events have you got for your team to look forward to and for them to have in their diary that they want to be doing? And when did you last just listen to your team members and just chat with them and hear their thoughts? I'm just a jingle guy from Chester who ended up running through Hold Separate, the third biggest programming department in the UK, which is absolutely fantastic. I got to learn a whole load of stuff about myself and about other people. I got to launch Hoodie Friday, which is a big thing now. And I got to marry Andrea twice in 2 different parts of the world. That bit I wouldn't recommend once is enough. So a lot went on, which I reckon isn't too bad for 645 days. Thanks so much.